Folks, welcome to a special edition of the Jake Feinberg Show here at the Dexter Lake Club in Eugene, well, actually in Dexter, Oregon. I'm joined by one of the original Merry Pranksters, a really dear friend of the program, and a guy who continues to stay on the grid and off the grid and doing his best to continue to go straight ahead. Ken Babbs, welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thanks, Jake. Always good to be here.
You know, I wanted to ask you, can you talk to the audience worldwide? We already have people have the comments coming in and keep the comments coming and the shares, but I wanted you to talk about when you and Kesey first met at Stanford, sitting in the dark, maybe getting high, and the kind of the kind of riffing and wordsmith kind of activities you guys would be doing when you first met at Stanford.
Well, that's a good question. We didn't know each other, of course, and the head of the department there at the writing school, Stegner, did a smart thing. He had a cocktail party on the deck of his house on a hill overlooking the campus. And when I got there, the sun was setting behind me, and I walked up the steps, and it was shining right into the deck, and at the far end was a guy standing there, straight as an arrow, and his arms hanging by his side. He didn't have his hands in his pocket. He wasn't leaning on the wall. He was, you could tell, solid. And so I walked up to him, drawn by the blue eyes, like I was filings to a magnet. And we shook hands, and right away I could tell this guy was all right, because he didn't give me that macho shake where it brings you to your knees and you're saying, "Let go, please, 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 please." No. And so I introduced myself, and he says, "Ken Babbs." I said, "I've heard of you." He says, "You're that guy up in San Francisco last week at the place where they were having a blabbermouth mic, and you got on the microphone up there talking to all those people in North Beach about how they should get out and get jobs and live and support the country and be good, solid Americans, and they threw you out." And I said, "Well, they didn't understand satire." And I said, "And I've heard of you, Kesey. The class hasn't even started, and you've already written a full novel called Zoo." And he said, "Oh, forget about that." He said, "I'll never publish it." He says, I don't like it. I'm starting all over again." So you could see we hit right off. And so when it came to wordplay, we were both into the same thing of just using what came to our mind and not following any set format. Like he told me that when he was born, it was a very difficult birth. His mother was having a hard time, and the doctor says, "Get the forceps," and the nurse say, "Oh, no, doctor, not the forceps, please, not the forceps." He says, "Get the forceps," and so they got him out of there. And Kesey said, "I was so ugly, the doctor slapped my mother."
So his head was too big? They couldn't get him out?
No, it was all misformed. And so his mother shaped it when he's growing up with his little baby. We had to get it back together in the right building, get all the bulges put away, and get the eyes looking good in the mouth. He had to do a lot of work on his mouth. But at the time he was ready to leave high school and go to college, he was set. But another thing happened to him. One time when he was little, he fell on the floor and twitched, frothed at the mouth, and started talking. "You know, up there in the sky, there's all those things. They're coming down here and swirling around us like robots. They're with drills, and they drill into our brains, and they make us say things that we don't really want to say. I don't know what to do about it, except, can I make any money on this?" And they all went, "Whoa." The kid's touched by the hand of God. No, it wasn't so wonderful as all that, although that could have been part of it, but he had a little bit of the, what do you call it, epilepsy. No, not the epilepsy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is so important because the writing you were doing was mainly at, workshops in San Francisco before you met him. What was your experience?
Are you kidding me? There was no writing workshops.
That's the wrong word to use. It was speak-ins or places.
Well, no. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
I came from Ohio. I drove out there in my car, and I got to San Francisco. I parked it and for 2 weeks, I just wandered around San Francisco, taking in the scenes, and gravitated to North Beach, which was the enclave of the beat generation that was still there. You know, the City Lights bookstore with Ferlinghetti, and so all those kind of people were there. But Kesey, he went after his graduation from college for a year, worked in Hollywood, trying to get into Hollywood. He had designs to be a movie star, maybe, if he could do it, but they already had their blue-eyed movie star. Excuse me, I must turn that thing off.
People know, it's all right.
It's okay, let it go.
I mean, believe me, you are on fire right now. So
anyway... Yeah. He hadn't gone to any writing workshop. I hadn't gone to any writing workshop, but we both had gotten turned on to writing when we were in college. And so we wanted to consider that as something we wanted to do. So that's why we went to Stanford to the writing class there, the graduate writing school, the most renowned one, you know, in the country. Well, also Iowa and Columbia, but I was from Ohio. I wanted to see the West Coast. And I'll tell you, when I got to California, I would never live in Ohio again.
Did you, did Kesey ever talk to you about, I know you made a joke about, in one of our interviews about, you know, Paul Newman's old blue eyes beat him out, but when he went to Hollywood, it didn't work out for him there. He didn't dig it down there. What did he ever tell you about that experience in general?
Well, not much, really, because he was, couldn't make it as a budding actor, so he just spent his time there writing. I think that's when he wrote that novel, Zoo.
But he wanted to be an actor, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he acted all the time. In high school, he was in drama all the time, and same thing in college at the University of Oregon. In fact, he graduated, I think, in, what was it? It wasn't English, or it was something to do with the arts, or the dramatic arts, something like that. In fact, you know, at the end of the year, they had to do a recital sort of thing, you know, show off to get there to pass the course.
Yeah.
And so instead of doing a poet or Shakespeare or somebody like that, he did Lord Buckley. You remember Lord Buckley? Yeah. He was talking about Nero and went to the big old Coliseum with all his bevies and beauties, sat down there in the front row, and he would come lickety-split across the wall there, up and grabbed, tried to make it in a big old lion, pulled him down and ate him. Utter silence in the Coliseum, and Nero stood up and slapped the wall and said, "Mark a golden spike where that cat blew." So Kesey passed the course, but nobody knew.
We are having a ball here at the Dexter Lake Club with Ken Babbs. Such an honor to be hanging with this cat. So I transcribed from our second interview. I'd like you to go, I use the acronyms BA, AA, meaning before acid and after acid. Before acid, you said we were ordinary people doing ordinary things, but personalizing it for yourself. BA, Ken Babbs, before acid, AA, after acid. How did you change consciousness-wise?
Well, BA, I was a real jerk. I thought that life was meant to be taken by the heels and shaken up real good and run your own way on it and take advantage of all these squares, you know, and be the top dog. And, you know, but I wasn't really mean in any way, but still I had the wrong attitude.
It was like a Trumpy kind of thing?
Trumpy, it's more dumpy, I think. It was, after acid, it was awakening of being able to see what the real values in life were and the real way to be, and of character formation, and not fall into all these traps that are set up for you all along the way of how you should be according to some set of standards that are a lot of times pretty phony.
Can you give an example?
Well, the whole thing about climbing the ladder of success, you know, is so that you are always working to better yourself and better your position. But really, the secret is to find something that you like to do and are able to make a living at it, and be happy if you're able to support yourself with it and your family. That's good enough. You don't always have to keep climbing and scrabbling for the top. The main thing is to groove in your life the way your life is right now. And your life right now may not be all that good. But the secret is not to dwell on it in your mind and piss and moan and worry and fret and all that, but to shut that all down. The most important thing we have to learn as growing up and get old is how to control the thoughts that are in your mind and disallow the thoughts that have no value and bring in the positive thoughts that make you a better person and make you able to look around, see the world as it is, and see how wonderful it is. See how beautiful the people are, how beautiful the earth is, the sky. Everything about your life is wonderful. You can't lose that. You lose that and you're down in the dumps, and that's no good.
LSD was an ego deflator, and that's why you were able to see what you consider to be the most salient things in life?
Well, I don't know, ego deflator, I don't know. No, I still have a tremendous ego. It wasn't an ego deflator. It was more like an ego expander.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about expanded consciousness is to see things that you weren't aware of before and to see the true value of things and to go for the true value and not the false value.
Ken Babbs, you want to talk? I would like you to talk to the audience. I mean, you're a prolific writer. I just got a signed copy of Who Shot the Water Buffalo. We were in the bus that you actually did a lot of that writing. Can you talk a little bit about your new book and what the audience has to look forward to and what the book is about?
Well, I never thought it would be this hard and this long when I started it. I thought I'd be able to jam it right out. It's called Cronies. And it's about the adventures I had with Kesey and Neil Cassidy and the Pranksters. And I didn't want it to be a memoir, and I didn't want it to be fiction, because then you have to change everybody's names and everything. So I found out that there is another literary form called a burlesque. And the definition of a burlesque is a historical happening embellished with inventions and exaggerations.
Whoa.
Oh, that's perfect for me. I mean, you know, it's like...
How did you find that? How did you become hip to that?
I can't remember. I ran into it somewhere because I know how I ran into it because there's a famous example of a burlesque in American literature. And it's was written in the late 1700s, and it was called Daedalus Knickerbocker's History of New York City. And it came out and caused a furor at that time in the late 1700s. New York was the center of everything, books and all that, and there was a big, huge book industry there because they would wondering, who is this guy, Daedalus Knickerbocker, and why is he writing things like, why is the mayor meeting every boat of immigrants coming in and hiring all the beautiful young women to work in City Hall? And then there'd be ads in the paper about Daedalus Knickerbocker is pulling our leg. He is no good. Why are we buying this book? Because it was selling like crazy. And then as time went on, the guy came forward and revealed himself, and it was Washington Irving, the most popular big-time writer of the time.
Oh, my, you got to be kidding me. He was the Mick Jagger of his time.
Exactly right. So I thought, well, this is perfect. This book is burlesque.
Dude, I dig that so much, Babbs. You know, but I wanted to ask you about, in your mind, the hovels that were in Menlo Park that Kesey used to live in. It was kind of World War I housing. Walker was talking about it, the idea that those, and the avant-garde cats that were living there.
Well, there's a guy named Thurston Veblen, who was kind of a counterculture guy, a bohemian, that set these places up, and he set them up as cottages and places to live for artistic types. So by the time Kesey got to Stanford in 1958, he was able to rent one of those places. And then in the other places were people also that were involved with Stanford, like Vic Lovell in psychology and Jane Burton in philosophy. And I'll tell you another guy there, I can't remember his name. He was a drummer, and he taught Bill Kreutzmann.
Perry something. Yeah, we're going to have to get who was Kreutzmann's drummer? He lived there. That's where Billy took lessons, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, was there Was there a lot of LSD being taken at that time in those hovels? Did you live in those hovels?
I didn't live there. No, I lived up there on the freeway, right? What they called
Whiskey Gulch.
Whiskey Gulch. That's exactly right. Because
Stanford was pretty dry at that time.
Yeah, right. In the town of Palo Alto, you couldn't buy liquor, but that was right outside the city limits. So I lived on a road close there. So, but anyway, Perry Lane became kind of a place where people would come there. And when we got there, there was no LSD hadn't happened yet, and pot was non-existent too. But somehow there's someone there. Somehow pot came into the scene, and so then there was a little bit of marijuana, but mostly it was gallons of Gallo. And wine, and guitars, and singing, and talking, and having a good time, and pig roasts, and a whole roast. And then outside on the road there on a tree was a basketball hoop and basketball games. And then there were croquet games that went all around the place. It was a wonderful time. People came there and and indulged. But the LSD came about because Kesey, Vic Lovell got him to go to the VA hospital and participate in these experiments.
MK Ultra.
Yeah, though they didn't know that at the time. But it was just happening. They got paid $25 to go in there and take a pill and then report on what it was doing to them. And one time they got this pill that, ooh, this is good stuff. And so
Kesey grabbed a little bit, brought it back?
No, he and Vic and the others decided when we get that stuff, let's pretend nothing's going on, and because if nothing's going on, they just let you loose. And then they'd be out on the streets high. So that thing shut down. The government shut it down. Will you stop doing that?
You're popular. This thing is just...
Let me get it.
All right. Yeah. You want to answer it?
No, I don't want to answer. I want to shut it off. This is another thing.
The distractions are difficult.
This is another thing.
We are live worldwide right now, Babbs. I mean,
this is another thing that is a phone solicitation.
Yeah, right. We deal with that. I know.
No, we won't do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to shut the dumb thing off. I forgot about it. Okay.
Talking to Ken Babbs here live at the...
And Ken can't figure out how to shut his phone down. Okay, he's getting there, though. Hang on, ladies and gentlemen. He's done it.
Can you talk about...
so wait a minute.
Finish.
Okay, so they shut that program down, and Kesey got a job as an aide in the VA hospital, the same place where they were doing those experiments, and he was in this room looking down on the patients there in the day room, and this door went into this office, and he realized that's the office of the doctor who was running those experiments. So he went and got the keys off the wall and went over and opened the door and went in and looked around, and he opened the drawer of the desk, and there was a bottle in there of 100 tabs of Hoffman acid. What's the name?
Albert Hoffman.
Yeah, what's the name of his outfit?
By the way, Lee Anderson was Kreutzmann's teacher. People are chiming in on Perry Lane. That was his name.
What? Oh, Lee Anderson.
Lee Anderson.
It was Lee Anderson.
It was Lee Anderson.
Oh, thank you.
Listen, this is so important. The poetic hoo-ha.
Yeah.
The poetic hoo-has. Can you...
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So Kesey copped that bottle of pills. Sandoz.
Sandoz acid.
Acid.
He copped,
Pure
he got a
stuff.
bottle.
And brought them back. So that was the way LSD got into our scene.
Into the Whiskey Gulch and the marijuana, but then the LSD came in.
Whiskey Gulch?
Well,
that's where I live.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Most of this revolved around Perry Lane, though. Perry Lane was the hub of the activity. Okay.
Everything's a myth now, that it's been mythologized, but when people check this video out in 50 years, what are the most salient things you want them to know about the pranksters, because you guys fell in between the Beats and the hippies?
What I think is the most important thing, the most salient thing? I think the most important thing was that we picked up on a vibe that is here on the earth, and it was here in this country, and in this country it was untrammeled or unmessed with, and we amplified that vibe And it was not just us. It was not just the pranksters. Many, many people, and most of all of them we knew were in the Bay Area, were on the same wavelength. And so this vibe of goodness and sharing and cooperation and not going for the materialistic baloney and the ads and all that, but finding your niche. Well, I'll tell you what it's all about. It's all about freedom. It's freedom.
What's the definition of freedom to a prankster? We hear
be
that
free. We be free, man. We what is it? How does it go? Is we won't be bought. We won't be sold. We will move in the inner circles. We'll move in the outer circles. We'll be what we'll be, and what we'll be is be free. And to be free means you can go into normal life and the regular world and everything and be part of that. But to be free also means you can have another way of living that is. It all is interrelated. It's all interconnected. But the secret to be free is to be able to work with all these different places to keep your own life happy and your own life safe and your own life, healthy. Health is the wealth.
Talking to Ken Babbs here and working on a very low battery, but we have 51 live viewers. Keep the so many people are People are at the airport watching this thing. I mean, at the end of the day, when was the last time you talked to Kesey?
Last time I talked to Kesey.
Oh, but you had Mount Pishka, you had that explode, the thunderbolt, and you emailed him right away. When was the last time you talked to him? People talk, the guys from the Doors, they talk to Morrison, they get dreams from Morrison.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I talk to Kesey all the time. I have dreams about him practically every night. We're always doing the same things. We're getting in the bus, we're going somewhere, we're playing music with some people, we're meeting other people, and and there's all these people we don't know. I don't have any idea who they are or anything, and the complications are unbelievable. And Cassidy's always in there, with him. It's all the people that I've lived with appear in my dreams. Jerry Garcia's there, and Pigpen. It's wonderful. It makes you really realize that we are still all connected, and who knows what will happen, when you go to the other place. Nobody knows. Nobody can know. We were there at my house in Soquel, which they say is the first acid test, which wasn't, is a Halloween party. But after we were all high, and after in the morning when we were all lying on the floor there, someone posed the question, where do you think you go after you die? And so Neil Cassidy says, well, as a Catholic, he says, as a lapsed Catholic, I have to hope that I'm still on the Catholic line. And